All right, let's get some bunny going here. Thinking about it. There we are.
Goodman and his music.
All right. Evening, everybody. That should have, the title should have changed. I updated all the titles. You know what I didn't do is restream chat. So, I'll wait a couple of seconds for everybody to get on and you can tell me, is the title correct? It's Time Travel Pub Crawl. Hey, Paula. Hey, evening Marie and Geraldine. Can anybody confirm the title is correct here? Should be Time Travel Pub Crawl. Hey, Chris. Hey, Octavio. Hey, Eric. Hey, Bob. All right. Thanks, Marie. So my machine still says Dylan Fans for Harris, the last thing I streamed last week. That would be incorrect. Hey, Elaine. I'm drinking a cookie butter beer tonight. It's interesting. I'm glad I did not buy a six-pack, but I'll get through it. Golden ale with toasted coconut, vanilla beans, and other natural flavors. That's about the toast is what I'm tasting most. Thanks, everybody, on the title. No, it's a Trader Joe's drink, Octavio. Hey, Joyce. Hey, Cindy and Luann. I think it's pretty tasty. It's just richer than something I'd want to have more than once. Like a lot of, chocolate stouts and stuff. Even in Carol. Hey, John. Hey, Christine. Hey, Joanne. Evening, Nancy Drew over on YouTube. Watch out, she's a nightmare, Nancy Drew. Hey, Susan. Glad to have you all back. Hope you had a good time with Mandy last week. Evening, Jennifer. Hey, Susan. Hey, Bill over on YouTube. Hey, Katie. Hey, Karen Floracita. I have fully torn up my mouth with Count Chocula this week. Makes it a little bit harder to talk than normal. Carol, the weather, it was hotter today than it was the last couple, but it's going to be plummeting overnight. Yay. Hey, Susan, going to go down to the highs in the 60s tomorrow. Hey, Limond. Hey, congrats, Megan. Gabriel, I'll just ask you to leave now before I have to ban you. Hey, Eileen. Hey, Laura. Are you really so ignorant of code switching, Gabriel? Hey, Marcia. Hey, Kathleen. Hey, John. Yeah, girl. Yeah, now and then we get snow in late October. Hey, Kathleen in the euphonium section. The copper-belled euphoniums. Hey, Octavio. Now, Gabriel, if you wanted to go to one of those Chicago things where they just whine about Chicago and post pictures from the police trackers, there's a lot of other groups for that shit. Hey, Londa. AW on YouTube. Hey, Grandma Bell. Welcome along, everybody. Hey, Mona. Hey, Tom. Hey, Marita. Why do I just leave this thing here? Bell, this is from 1936. Where am I heading tomorrow for Find a Grave? I haven't decided yet. This is live in the Joseph Urban Room at the Congress Hotel, where we will be hosting Mystericon in just a few weeks. Is Miles hanging around? Miles will surely be around here pretty soon. Oh, actually, Miles is down here in his favorite box. The one that's just a little too small for him. Hey, Heather. Hey, Sherry.
Benny Goodman goes way back and gets a lot of rhythm out of Walk, Jenny, Walk. Benny Goodman and his orchestra.
Spinach artichoke flour. That sounds good. Hey, Alan, Milwaukee. Miles. Well, he's all curled up asleep. Rita, I am just having a cookie butter beer. Usually I mix something up. But tonight this has just seemed interesting enough that I had to try it. Yes, if you have not registered for Mystericon, do so. And welcome along, everybody, for a time travel pub crawl. The far south side, that's perfect. It's the cookie butter beer is pretty good. I'm glad I didn't buy 6 of them. But it's pretty tasty. Very much a dessert beer. Al, I don't know when the Bourbon Fest is. I haven't seen that. It sounds good. We're certainly in Milwaukee enough lately. Hey, Jenny. Hey, Ginger Ale is fine. Welcome, everybody new here. All right, we're going to let Benny Goodman do one more tune, and then we will get started properly.
And they all loved it. They all loved those...
Give Laura some time for a cocktail.
And now another one just in the same vein. Rosetta.
Evening, Kristen. Paula, I don't leave for my big trip until November. I mentioned code switching in the chat. I remember the hillbilly English teacher that I had actually explained it to us. Like, you know that I don't when I'm with my dad, I'm not saying, shall we sally forth upon a boat and cast our lines into the water? It's like, that's also not how he talked in class exactly, but. I actually had one teacher from Winder, Georgia. I can't even remember what she taught. I just remember that she was known to tell students that she was a virgin and saving herself for God. I don't remember even what subject she taught or how in the world that came up. Well, no, I went to high school in Georgia. But October of this year will mark 20 years since I've been here. Alright, Benny's finishing this up and we'll be ready to start off properly here.
Music by Benny Goodman is being presented
All right.
from the Joseph Urban Room of the Congress Hotel in downtown Chicago.
From the Joseph Urban Room in the Congress Hotel in downtown Chicago. All right, everybody, it's a time travel pub crawl. You know what that means. It is time that we begin with the theme song.
Climb aboard, cause you don't know exactly where or when we'll go. Chicago 1893, or the Gilded Age in NYC. Blast off into outer space, drink till you're flat on your face. From the comfort of your home, so if you puke alone, one day we'll even find that place in France. And don't come crying to us if you pee your pants. Time travel pub crawl. Time travel pub crawl. Time travel pub crawl. Yeah!
Time travel pub calls, everybody. Welcome along. I'm Adam from Mysterious Chicago Tours. Been a tour guide and historian here in Chicago for going on 20 years now. Just realized I need to kind of... there, that's better. Now I can see you all a little bit better. All right, so welcome along. I'm Adam from Mysterious Chicago Tours. I've been a tour guide and historian here in Chicago for nearly 20 years now. Got about a dozen Chicago history books out. I'm on the History Channel and the Travel Channel all the time. So I am absolutely incredibly famous. Definitely pay attention to everything that I say. So every now and then we do a thing called time travel pub crawls. You see, back in 1915, the wreck of a homemade submarine known as the Fool Killer was found in the Chicago River. It disappears from the record right around 1916, but we found it. It was in the couch tomb. And now it turns out that it's not just a submarine, it is also a time machine This submarine time machine that goes through time and space, slices, it dices, it also makes julienne fries. And since we were all stuck at home when we started doing these virtual tours, we thought we would do some virtual pub crawls. And since we were doing virtual pub crawls, we could go to anywhere in time and space. Now, this is one that I put together a few years ago. I thought, since it's Labor Day, we would go to some bars that are kind of associated with the labor movement. So let's move around. Let's see what we can find out here. First, I thought we'd go see an old friend. So we're just going to zip down to the south side here and sail into Pullman. Now here we are posing with Pullman at his grave, as we do sometimes. Notice we didn't assault any cemetery employees to take this picture. Well, let's zip down to the town of Pullman. Pullman, of course, was the boss of the Pullman Palace Car Company, but subject to quite a bit of labor disputes. Now, this is the Hotel Florence, the only place in Pullman where you could get a drink, and not if you were one of the lower-level employees. Only Mr. Pullman and his guest were supposed to be able to drink at this place. Building this very nice model town for his employees was seen as a very progressive experiment at the time. Factory towns tended to be absolute dumps. In Pullman's case, though, he just got a little bit too patrician about it over time. And when he cut everybody's salary by about 30%, but didn't lower the rents that he was charging them, these things change around a little bit. We're going to zip in here right into the window. There we go. And that's how it looked back now that we've been time traveling anyway. So, when he didn't lower their rents but did lower their salaries, there were massive strikes. President Cleveland called in the troops. We have been visiting out here at the Hotel Florence bar before, so let's see if we can get this guy to show up again. Hey man, hey buddy. Hey, remember us?
Oh, that's right, the time travelers. Welcome back.
Hey, everything okay?
Can't be too careful these days, hard to know who to trust.
What's going on?
Maybe we should start with a drink. You remember our specialty, the very far south side? You take 2 ounces of whiskey, 1 ounce each of simple syrup and lime juice, half an ounce of yellow chartreuse, if you got it, and top it off with a dash of Angostura bitters.
Well, I don't have any yellow chartreuse, but
No
we
one
do
around
love
here
this.
does these days. Not since Mr. Pullman cut everyone's salaries by a third. Not that they could drink here anyway. Old Pullman thinks that drink is the curse of the working class.
More like work is the curse of the drinking class, am I right?
I like the cut of your jib. You're all right. I'll let you in on a secret. There's gonna be a strike.
A strike? Really?
Yep. We even got some guys who came down and taught us all a folk song. Call themselves the Dead Ringers.
Oh no.
Hum,
Come gather round, children, it's high time you can, of the hero named Miles and the devil Pullman. We'll march till we drop, the gals and the fellas. We'll fight to the death or else fold like umbrella. Ella. So we'll march day and night by the big cooling tower. They have the plan, but we have the power. So we'll march day and night by the big cooling tower. They have the plan, but we have the power.
They ain't much to look at, but they sure can sing.
Did he say a hero named Miles? Because Miles is here on the ship.
Pullman wouldn't like seeing a ship like that. It's not a train. You know how he hates competition.
We'll be careful.
You'll be dead. Wait. Do you smell onions? Strike breakers. They're coming. You better get out while you can.
Alright, we are going to get out of here. We don't want to mess with any strike breakers with onions tied to their belt, as was the style at the time. So here we go. Let's just go hide out. We'll hide out at a place where everybody's going to be in disguise anyway, so they'll never find us. Right up here at 35th Street, just a few decades later. Just a few decades later, of course, was the Cabin Inn. I love talking about this place. It'll be a perfect place to hide, but I won't linger too much because I know we just went here. This was Bronzeville's hottest drag club. You can see here advertised as the oddest nightclub in town. Call Calumet at 4972. No cover, no minimum, all new show, The Oddest in Town, featuring Dorothy Scott. Also including Val de Grey and the Breezy Brevities of 1939, featuring Billy McAllister, Carol Lee, Francis D. Singer. Of course, the most popular entertainer there was likely Dick Powell, also known as Sepia Mae West. There's actually, strangely, believe it or not, there is actually a photograph from the inside of this place. So we can see that they've got like a painted log cabin theme going. It was known as the Cozy Cabin, with 3 of the drag queens. Now, we play Dick Powell's song, The Cabin Inn. In this case, though, we're going to bring out another one of my favorite groups to entertain us while we're here at the Cozy Cabin. You might have seen these guys last week playing $1 Million Bash on Dylan Fans for Harris and Walls. Here they are from Georgia, May Haley's Grave.
Hi, we're May Haley's Grave. Hi, Chicago.
Sorry, I lost the sound there. That was on me. We're going to go back a little bit here. Okay, we're going to have to go back in time and space again. Sorry about the sound there. Forgot to turn it back up after May Haley's grave. Sometimes that happens. Rewind! Luckily, we're time traveling here, so that's not particularly difficult. All right, so here we are in what is now Old Town, what was once the edge of town, going right past the site where the Earl of Old Town Folk Club used to be. And moving on up, right about where the Treasure Island grocery store is now. We'll bring you the info on the epic beard and the not-so-epic person. So right about here stood Kinkle's Saloon. Difficult to triangulate the exact location of these kind of things, and I've never been totally convinced that this is really Kinkle's. You can't quite make out what it says on the sign there. But this is said to be Kinkle's, a place where you could go not only for beer, but also for free lunch. But in the 1850s, we elected a mayor here in Chicago named Levy Boone. He's come up a few times lately. We just did jerks in Chicago cemeteries. Dr. Levy Boone was a member of the Know Nothing Party. They wouldn't even admit to what their platform was, but it was known to be rapidly anti-Freemason. They probably just couldn't get in. And rapidly anti-Catholic and rapidly anti-immigrant. One of the things that he came up with to do in order to antagonize the immigrants of Chicago was to close the beer halls on Sunday. This led to what was possibly Chicago's first really proper riot, the Lager Beer Riots. So, we're going to go right about to the place where the worst of this took place. We're right now crossing the river at the Clark Street Bridge. Of course, this is the current Clark Street Bridge. But this is about how that looked back in the 1850s. It was a swing bridge at the time. To let ships in, it would go over off to the side. So the story goes that when the Lager Beer Riots were meeting on here, Levy Boone had the bridge swung, so people ended up stranded in the middle of the bridge. Nobody knows exactly whether or not this is true. It wasn't reported until much, much longer. There are quite a few contemporary accounts of this particular riot. This is from the Daily American. A riot occurred here this morning, growing out of the liquor license question. One man has been killed and 5 or 6 others wounded. A small procession of intoxicated Germans and Irish marched with drum and fife to the courthouse square. Collecting a crowd, the police interfered when a general fight ensued. Soon an immense crowd collected and a fierce fight resulted in which knives and clubs were used. The principals being soon arrested, however, the excitement diminished and comparative quiet was soon restored. Now, nothing about this says anything about the bridge. There's also this one in the Daily Illinois State Register, an arch-conservative paper. Last October, in the name of freedom, a mob rose and stifled freedom by driving an Illinois senator, that would be Senator Douglas, from a public meeting called to hear his defense of his congressional course, which was expanding slavery in the new territories. The mob was met by cheers from the journal and its free soil coadjutors, and is indicative of a healthy state of public sentiment. Now that the lawless example of the Chicago mob is followed by a Missouri mob, the mobbed October last are saddled with the blame of last outrage upon law and order. Such acts are but the fruits of the higher law teachings of fanaticism. It's a reference to William Seward saying that there was a higher law that blocked slavery from being okay. They would tend to blame anything on abolitionists in those days. Of course, you all know what I think of Levy Boone. I'm not that great of a dancer. As you see. Well, let's get out of here before we get in trouble. I'm going on some labor. Those of you just joining us, the Time Travel Pub Crawl going to stuff primarily associated with the labor movement, including, of course, the Haymarket riots. Now, over at 54 West Lake, there was a place called Grief Saloon. Now, at the time of the Haymarket uprising, there was a rally for the 8-hour workday and to protest the fact that some workers had been killed at the McCormick Works back in the mid-1880s. So, they hung out at a few different places. One was the Arbeiter Zeitung, which was a German-language newspaper that pushed a lot of socialist sentiments. And also at Grief's Saloon at 54 West Lake Street. We can zip around here. Now, things have been moved around since. But Grief Saloon was said to be the headquarters of the most rampant anarchist and socialist gatherings. There was a saloon part of it where Thomas Grief dispensed liquid inflammables. He was ordered to close a day or two after the Haymarket affair when a bomb went off, killing several police officers and an unknown number of crowd members. But also, up here on Clybourne was Neff's Hall at 58 Clybourne, old numbering, a saloon that also had a meeting hall attached, which was popular at the time. It was a popular hangout with what they called the North Side Group, including Louis Ling, who would eventually be sentenced to hang for his participation in the speeches that day. He was actually seen here the night of the bombing. This is where he was, not actually at the speeches. But it was known as the Shanty of Communists. Pictures of it make it look like this. It's difficult to know. It really does roughly match the space where we were here. On the inside, we actually have a drawing of what it was like on the inside, which is highly unusual for a place like this. And of course, out at Forest Home Cemetery is the resting place of the 4 men and plus Louis Ling, who were hanged just for having some sort of involvement in this. The rest of them were eventually pardoned. There was just simply no evidence connecting these guys to it properly. Look out at high noon, they were hanged. Newspapers sent in reporters from all over. This is possibly the best documented hanging in American history. Justice is done. And then other pages also going on at the same time was the Carolyn Carter trial. We're going to zip back a little ways here. I remember we just saw where Treasure Island was. Just beyond that is Corcoran's Grill. Now, I couldn't really find a good song to be played over at Grief's Saloon, so we are going to move in to Grief's, which is the home of the old Earl of Old Town Folk Club. There were a lot of good folk clubs in Old Town back in the day. You can see where the stage was back there. And right up here, you can even see they've got some ads from back in the old days still hanging up. Just showing the kind of people that you could see over at the Earl of Old Town. We'll zoom in. Jim Post, now before he was best known just for a terrible album cover. John Prine, Steve Goodman. What a lineup they would have just from week to week at this place. And here's a shot of how it looked. Move that down. Treasure Island still standing right there. How about that? But this is a picture of how it looked if you stepped inside at the time. And to make it come alive just a little bit more, as we always do, here's a folk singer of my acquaintance, a guy by the name of Chris Farrell.
Come to the border, come to the line. There's a song and a story that speaks of your kind. Then sing with the freedom your trials have earned. A song shall come shining, a voice shall be heard. Some weep for lovers, some weep for friends, and then some cry in silence where the pain never ends. But with every teardrop a wave has been stirred. A song shall come shining, a voice shall be heard. Turn to the music, turn to the light. Bring your ballads back home, your dreams are alright. The darkness is dying, the truth has returned. A song shall come shining, a voice shall be heard. If the battle's worth fighting, then nothing is lost. So gather your music and gather your words. Your song shall come shining, your voice shall be heard. So gather your music and gather your words. Your song shall come shining, your voice shall be heard.
Chris Farrell, everybody. Excellent stuff. I think we have officially lost the Strikebreakers now. I actually saw them come in while Chris was singing, but then they all just laid down their onions, and we are now free to organize. So we got one more place to go, Lo. Anyway, we still got some time to kill here. So why don't we fly ourselves out to some places that are left over from some of the New York crawls that we never quite got around to. We'll just hang out. Well, we'll have to wait on that. We'll go all the way to New York. And having got to New York, we will head down to the Bowery. There was a place called McGurk's that came to be known as Suicide Hall, for reasons that are about exactly what you would think. This is Mr. McGurk himself who ran the place. The interior was always a party, and never a very fun party. It was all rough and rowdy. Mr. McGurk again. There's a little bit of one night there was what remains of the left ear shows one method of paying a grudge without appealing to the law. It had been bitten off. Now there's a story in New York folklore that a woman named Gallus Mag used to bite off people's ears. It comes up in article after article, even though it's probably largely made up by Herbert Asbury. But in this case, a guy actually did get his arm bit right off. The other ear was cut off just above the lobe, and according to the ethics of the Metropolitan Banditti, that means Eat-em-up Jack had once been caught cheating at cards. And across the forehead, under the chin, and on both cheeks, the flesh is crisscrossed with scars, the relics of hundreds of vicious battles. If the morgue keeper were to raise the white shroud, it would be seen that sometime in his youth the dead man, for the sake of experience, had gone through tortures like the worst of the Spanish Inquisition. There were bullet wounds, razor and knife cuts, indications that at different times every bone in his body had been broken, and on the feet the unmistakable signs that, among the other experiences of life, McManus had been tied down while his extremities were seared with hot irons. Eat-em-up Jack would probably be very much disgusted to think that he had come to his end by being struck by a piece of gas pipe. As happened here in Suicide Hall. Oh, hey, here comes Mr. McGurk now. So, Mr. McGurk, there are those who'd say you run on a pretty low-class place here.
Tut tut. That isn't why I renamed it that. This isn't a disorderly house. I named it after our signature drink. The Suicide.
The Suicide.
Yes, the boys in the Bowery like to mix the various flavors of phosphate from the soda fountain and call it a suicide, you see.
Sure, it's also known as graveyard swamp water. Is that where it comes from?
Let's say yes. Those Bowery boys, delightful little scamps. So I took their idea and combined a bunch of flavors and just mixed in whatever was handy. Vodka tends to mix well with most things, and top it off with some Angostura bitters.
Very classy.
Yes, I run an orderly house, no matter what Mr. Roosevelt says. We keep women off the streets, and I never pushed a girl downhill any more than I ever refused a helping hand to one who wanted to climb.
That's one way of putting it, but you know, guys, I'm getting the idea this place might just be a bit problematic. Maybe we're better off running from strike breakers elsewhere.
I was converted at the gospel tent. I let missions people in here.
Okay, that sounds even worse than the strike breakers. We're just gonna zip on out of here. And elsewhere in New York, we also at one point we're gonna head down to 52nd Street, where all of the jazz clubs were at one time, and check out Toots Shore's place. Major hangout especially for athletes, one of those cool circular bars. Now here's the Toots Shores softball team. You might recognize Frank Sinatra down there in the front row. That's the kind of people who hung out at this joint. Also, Mickey Mantle would come in. Muhammad Ali. And here's Toots with Joe DiMaggio himself. This one's kind of an outtake. I can't really remember where I was heading with this one. So, tell you what, let's throw in one more pro-union folk song. Here we go. I didn't rehearse this, but we'll do it anyway. I think this is how I did this last time I did this tour. Woody Guthrie was sent to New Jersey when the chorea ate his brain. And he lay on his back for a decade or so, just dreaming of riding that train. 'Cause he traveled all over the country, spreading the truth and good cheer. And when Woody ascended to heaven, he said, man, what am I doing here? He went doorbell ditching at the pearly gates. He rang the bell and ran like hell up at the pearly gates. And St. Peter caught up with Woody as he raced through the circles of hell. He said, God is well pleased with you, Woody. You've done the Lord's work well. But heaven is something to Woody said, up here in heaven, there's nothing to protest about. Hell is in need of some reform, and if you try to pull me back out, I'll come doorbell ditching at the pearly gates. I'll just ring the bell and run like hell at the pearly gates. St. Peter said, sing for the angels. In heaven the hoots never stop, and the boxcars are all filled with pillows, and you never get chased by the cops. Then Woody said, I'm not a sellout. I can't knock on heaven's door until all of the demons join unions and nobody's damned anymore. Come doorbell ditching at the pearly gates. I'll just ring your bell and run like hell up at the pearly gates, at the pearly gates. All right, everybody, thank you very much for joining me for another time travel pub crawl. This one always runs a little bit shorter than I thought it was going to, but we've got some upcoming tours. That was last time. That was also last time. What the heck has gone on here? Oh, I know. Give me 1 second here. I know. I forgot to save this thing. That should about do it. Yes! Next upcoming tour, next weekend, not this weekend, but next weekend, we will be at Rose Hill Cemetery. Then September 28th, we have got some boat tours going. They are just about half sold, so get your tickets now. There's only a few weeks left before this, a part of Mystericon. Virtual, we'll do something else next Thursday. I don't know what yet, but we'll figure something out. Why do I have a thing in this deck here for Culver's? Okay, that is not, in fact, Culver's. All right, everybody. Thanks once again for joining me. Put this thing up here, and we will put the Benny Goodman on, and we will just hang out like we always do. Thanks for joining me, everybody. And here's Benny. Yeah, for some reason I've got a scene that just says Culver's here. I don't remember what that was. Now, Miles has left his box. We'll find him in a second, though. Now, we showed him earlier. We showed just a little clip of him. It's enough to fulfill his contract. Thanks to those of you kicking in donations. Carol, yeah, Aiden started back up at school yesterday. One of the classes he's taking this year is Star Wars. This is the class now. I would have got so much better grades. Timothy Miles does not leave the building. But we're gonna find it. Miles! Here he is. He looks a little annoyed right now, I know. There we go.
And that would put rhythm in the beat of a wooden Indian. That was the bugle call rag, Benny Goodman's own arrangement. Now, the popular tune, Thanks a Million.
All right. He might come hopping up anyway, but I'm going to put him in his box. He just came out when I called. Oh, here he comes again. Mm-hmm. That's our Miles. Have a seat, Miles. Sit on down. Oh, he's just purring and purring. Okay, when is this Milwaukee Whiskey Fest? I will click on that link. October 18th. Oof. Anything in October is tricky for me. Anything in October is tough. Alright, Al has posted a link to Whiskey Fest in Milwaukee, but you might not see it if you're not on the correct space.
Down Harlem Way, they're
No.
all trucking. And here's Helen Ward to
Post
tell
it
you
there.
all about it. Trucking.
But meanwhile, Miles is just flopping down and purring away. Good night, Bob. Oh, you want to see a special sneak preview? This is a book that I'm going to put out on October 1st. It's one that I pulled out of my drawer of books that I just wrote at the wrong time. They never did end up getting published, but I thought it was time I finally put this one out. I love this one. But I'd always wanted to do a Banshee and a rock band book. So that'll be out October 1st. More information soon. Aw, Miles. Spin around so you can see this guy here. Purr, purr, purr. He likes his belly rubbed. You guys might very well be able to hear him purring even over the Benny. Yeah, he's got a fang that protrudes. Doesn't seem to bother him any. The vet didn't seem alarmed by it. Doesn't protrude all the time, like right now it's not showing.
Benny Goodman presents On the Alamo.
All right, everybody. Come up with something to do for next Thursdays. Busy season is just starting up. We are just a few weeks away from October, a few weeks away from Mystericon. So I am going to go relax and try to help my mouth heal from having gone way too hard on the Count Chocula in the past week or so. I will see you all tomorrow for Find a Grave Friday. And until then, everybody, stay safe, stay strong, and of course, if you can, stay spooky, everybody. Isn't that right, Miles? Stay spooky? That's right.